2 Kings 2. Just before the Lord took Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were traveling from Gilgal. Elijah told Elisha, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me to Bethel." But Elisha said, "As certainly as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. Some members of the prophetic guild in Bethel came out to Elisha and said, "Do you know that today the Lord is going to take your master from you?" He answered, "Yes, I know. Be quiet." So it sounds like Elisha has a bit of that arrogance the same way that Elijah does. Like, yeah, I know all this. Be quiet, you. Elijah said to him, "Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has sent me to Jericho." But he replied, "As certainly as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So they went to Jericho. Some members of the prophetic guild in Jericho approached Elisha and said, "Do you know that today the Lord is going to take your master from you?" He said, "Yes, I know. Be quiet." So we have a repetition in the previous chapter of something happening twice and then a third time, but the third time it's different. Here we have a repetition of go to a place, this happens, and the same response. Go to a place, this happens, same response. So what is going on? Elijah said to him, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me to the Jordan." But he replied, "As certainly as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So they traveled together. The 50 members of the prophetic guild went and stood opposite them at a distance while Elijah and Elisha stood by the Jordan. Elijah took his cloak, folded it up, and hit the water with it. The water divided, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. When they had crossed over, Elijah said to Elisha, "What can I do for you before I am taken away from you?" Elisha answered, "May I receive a double portion of the prophetic spirit that energizes you." Elijah replied, "That's a difficult request. If you see me taken from you, may it be so. But if if you do not, it will not happen." Okay, so we have a double thing, a repeating thing, a third thing, totally different. The third time, they take the cloak, they hit the water, or I should say Elijah does, and they cross over on dry ground. Weird that it's his cloak. He folds it up and hits the water with it. They cross on dry ground, go to the other side. The prophets apparently came with, and now they cross. The prophets are at a distance, and he's asking, "What can I give you?" The request is, "I want a double portion of the prophetic spirit that energizes you." Elijah's like, it's a difficult request. He doesn't know if it will come. So he says, here's how you will have evidence if your request is granted by God. If you see me taken from you, then it will be so. If you do not see me taken from you, it won't be. So the distinguishing factor of will it happen is, do you see me taken from you? What do we have in the footnotes? May a double portion of your spirit be on me. Difficult request. Okay. As they were walking along and talking, suddenly a fiery chariot pulled by fiery horses appeared. They went between Elijah and Elisha, and Elijah went up to heaven in a windstorm. While Elisha was watching, he cried out, my father, the chariot and horsemen of Israel!" Then he could no longer see him. He grabbed his clothes and tore them in two. He picked up Elijah's cloak, which had fallen off of him, and went back and stood on the shore of the Jordan. So they're walking along. All of a sudden, a fiery chariot pulled by fiery horses appear, and it goes between Elijah and Elisha. So it splits them apart, and it shows up, and it also describes them as a windstorm that takes him up. He's watching him. He cries out to him. Notice what he does afterwards. He grabs his clothes and he tears them in two. He is filled with sorrow. He is mourning. He is grieving for the loss of Elijah, but he also then picks up Elijah's cloak because it had fallen off of him. So we have all of that happening. What's interesting, if you didn't catch it, is the Elijah saying, I'm moving on, you stay here. Elisha saying, no, nothing will come between you and me. Nothing will come between you and me. Nothing will come between you and me. The 3 times that he says that, and now the fiery chariot pulled by fiery horses comes between Elijah and Elisha. So Elisha saying, nothing will come between you and me. He meant it as much as he meant it, but it didn't happen. It did not happen. The fiery chariot came between them, and the fiery chariot and windstorm took him away. So now he is back at the Jordan, and watch what we're going to see happen as we go back through the steps that just took place. He took the cloak that had fallen off Elijah, hit the water with it, and said, where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? When he hit the water, it divided, and Elisha crossed over. So he's going back the pathway they came on. He duplicates the crossing of the Jordan River that Elijah did. He does the same with Elijah's cloak. So just like the mantle was passed from Moses to Joshua, and Moses crossed the Red Sea, Joshua parted the Jordan River. Here, Elijah parts the Jordan River. Here, Elisha parts the Jordan River. We have a duplication of the miraculous thing that took place, so we can see that the mantle has passed to them. When the members of the prophetic guild in Jericho, who were standing at a distance, saw him do this, they said, the spirit that energized Elijah rests upon Elisha. So he asked for a double portion of the spirit of Elijah to rest upon him. And now we have the prophetic guild pronouncing that. They went to meet him and bowed down to the ground before him. They said to him, look, there are 50 capable men with your servants. Let them go back and look for your master, for the wind sent from the Lord may have carried him away and dropped him on one of the hills or in one of the valleys. So the prophets are thinking God picked him up, but he carried him somewhere and set him down. So let's go look for him. But Elisha replied, don't send them out. So they were so insistent that he became embarrassed. That's interesting that he becomes embarrassed because they keep saying, we can go find him. We'll find him. Yeah, absolutely. We could go find him. I bet he's just on the big hill. Oh, no, maybe he's on the far hill. Oh, maybe he's on the little hill. We'll go search them all. Well, we'll definitely. Yeah, fine. So he said, send them out. They sent the 50 men out, and they looked for 3 days, but could not find Elijah. When they came back, Elisha was staying in Jericho. He said to them, didn't I tell you don't go? Didn't I tell you don't go? And you just kept saying you could find him. You searched for 3 days, and you could not find him. Interesting how a search for 3 days does not turn up Elijah. But when we jump to the book of Luke, we have on the 3rd day that we just read in Luke that Mary and Joseph find Jesus. So on the 3rd day, they find Jesus. Here on the 3rd day, they do not find Elijah. And Elisha's like, yeah, I told you so. Told you so. The men of the city said to Elisha, look, the city has a good location, as our master can see, but the water is bad and the land doesn't produce crops. Elisha said, get me a new jar and put some salt in it. So he got it. He went out to the spring and threw the salt in it. Then he said, this is what the Lord has said. I have purified this water. It will no longer cause death or failure to produce crops. The water has been purified to this very day, just as Elisha prophesied. So this is a really odd thing. A spring that is not good. There's something bad about the water in the spring, and he throws some salt in it. Okay, perhaps salt kills the bacteria or the parasite or something that's in there, but salt into a spring seems like an odd thing to do to purify it. However, notice that salt is added frequently to all of the offerings that are given, or to many of the offerings given. There is salt that is added on them as they are giving them to God. So here, salt is a mechanism for purification. So it is the water is now purified. It is healed from whatever the trouble is. And by way of proving it, they add, the water has been purified to this very day. I always love when they have those statements, to this very day. Just as Elisha prophesied. Did he prophesy or did he just declare it? According to the word Elisha, which he spoke. Yeah, like he didn't prophesy. I'm sorry. I don't think prophesy is the way to translate it. He declares it. Just the way that Elisha declared it clean. He declared it, he pronounced it clean. He didn't prophesy it clean and then say, wait around for it to happen. He went and made it happen. Sorry. He went up from there to Bethel. See, he's traveling backwards to the places that they went on the journey. As he was traveling up the road, some young boys came out of the city and made fun of him, saying, "Go on up, Baldy, go on up, Baldy." When he turned around and saw them, he called God's judgment down on them. 2 female bears came out of the woods and ripped 42 of the boys to pieces. From there, he traveled to Mount Carmel and then to Samaria. Again, one of the weird stories in the Bible. We had a previous story with Elijah having the king send to the prophet a soldier with 50, or a commander with 50 soldiers. He kills 2 rounds of 50 soldiers, killing 100. Here we have young boys. Let me see what the footnote is. Na'ar has translated boy can refer to a broad age range, including infant as well as young men, but the qualifying term young or small suggests these youth were relatively young. The phrase in question, young boys, occurs elsewhere, used by Solomon in a hyperbolic manner. So some will try to soften this story and say that they were 20-somethings. Not likely. Likely the young boys is middle school, okay? That is a good image of a bunch of middle school boys who are taunting him. And the thing is they're taunting him, but they're not taunting him from the standpoint of he's just a man. They are taunting him as the prophet of God. They are taunting the prophet of God. He turns around and he calls God's judgment down on them. So he calls God's judgment. Let me see what I have on them. He cursed them in the name of the Lord. A curse was a formal appeal to a higher authority. Hear the Lord to vindicate one's cause through judgment. As in chapter 1, this account makes it clear that disrespecting the Lord's designated spokesman can be deadly, for it is ultimately rejection of the Lord's authority. This doesn't seem like that entirely, just seems like they're poking fun of the way he looks, but they are, and they know, or they can see, or they should have known, that he is indeed the prophet of God. And God is the one who brings the judgment, because 2 female, so I would say also with the fire coming from heaven, it was God's judgment that was poured out on the soldiers who were going to take captive the prophet. Here, the boys making fun of him, he calls for God's judgment upon them. 2 female bears come out of the woods and rip 42 boys to pieces. Now, 42 boys. Do you think that some of them got away? Why is it 42? Like, where does 42 show up elsewhere in Scripture? That's what I'm wondering. 6 of the towns you give the Levites will be cities of refuge, to which a person who has killed someone may flee. In addition, give them 42 towns. Okay, so 42 is the number of towns that are given to the Levites. That's the first occurrence of it. Do we have another? We have Judges, 42,000 Ephraimites were killed. No, that's not going to be any connection. Reigning 42 years, not going to be a connection. The 42 bears come out. We will have later 42 of them, no survivors. So 42 months. Okay, so we will see in Kings 10, 42 will happen again. But the 42 cities of the Levites, maybe there's a connection there. Yes, yeah. 42 is the meaning of life from the universe. Yes, for everything. Yes, 42, but not here. So we have 2 bears. 2 bears, yes, they're female bears defending their cubs, that kind of an image, perhaps. Angry female bears defending their cubs. So that makes sense, they would attack. But 2 bears and 42 boys. How do they track down and kill 42 boys? Okay, you're attacking and mauling 1 boy. 2 of you are attacking and mauling 2 boys. 40 are getting away. Okay, you can chase down another 2 while you chase down those 2. I'm running in the opposite direction. How do 42 boys get eaten and ripped to pieces by 2 bears? Like, the math doesn't math here. They could escape in some way. So I don't know that there's any variance. It's not giving a footnote that says no, that there's a possibility that 42 is the wrong number. But what it's showing is divine judgment. So maybe out of fear of the bears, the boys freeze. The bears come and attack in such a way that they corral them and they can't escape. I don't know. It doesn't make sense logically to me that it can happen. But if it's God's divine judgment, we have that it is God's divine judgment upon them for attacking the office of his prophet. And so we have the judgment that comes. So